Hey fashion lovers, you're welcome back to Eleganza TV. In today's video, I'll be showing you how to sew this beautiful corset top with a hidden zipper at the bust area. Perfect for nursing mothers who still want to slay in a stylish corset. The flap over the zipper gives it a chic corset look while keeping it breastfeeding friendly. So if you've been waiting for the sewing part, let's dive right into it. Don't forget to subscribe. It's one of the easiest ways to support your favorite creators for free. Like and share too. So guys, let's get right into the video.
Things have changed, but I don't wanna play no games, baby. I'll treat you
We
different.
ended the previous tutorial with cutting the fabric and adding our sewing allowance. So if you haven't seen that cutting tutorial yet, I recommend watching it first so this sewing part will be easy for you to follow. You can find the link in the description box. So after watching, you can always come back to continue from here. So here I've already cut out my fabric and lining and I've interfaced both sides of the main fabric only. The interfacing I use here is called canvas or airstay. Then for the cut pieces, the main cut pieces, I used the interfacing and then I added chest wadding to it. In the last part of the cutting video, I made sure that I added 0.75 on the sewing allowance for the bust area, but after ironing my interfacing to it, I guess it kind of shrinked. So I have just ½ inch all around it. So the sewing allowance I'll be using to fix my zipper is going to be 0.5 inch. I'm also using these two short zippers because it works best for the bust access. And lastly, I'll be adding this bra foam to give the cup a firmer structure since we're not going to be using a bra cup. Everything I use to make this dress, from the zippers to the bra foam and the fabric type, is listed in the description below, so you can check it out. So the first thing I'll be working on is the corset flap. So this Ankara pattern is what I'm going to use for my corset flap, just like the finished look of the dress that you've seen already. So I placed them accordingly because I've already gone ahead to notch the seams that will be going together. Then I went ahead to pin each piece front side facing each other. So I'm going to do this for the two sides cup and also do the same thing for my lining separately. And I'll take it to my sewing machine and stitch with 0.5 inch sewing allowance following the shape. And so then after doing that, we're going to be joining the bodies of the corset. So I took out my pins to separate the pattern from the fabric. So before taking out your patterns, ensure that you've notched all the seams that are going together for your main fabric and lining. So I separated the lining part. I'll keep it aside and let me show you how to join the main fabric. Note that everything I'm doing for the main fabric, I'll also be doing the same thing for my lining. So I placed each of the panels together, front side facing each other, and I will just pin and take it to my sewing machine to stitch with my 0.5 inch sewing allowance. And then after I finish sewing, I will open up the seams to iron it for the lining and the main fabric as well. So guys, this is the corset flap after I have finished sewing the main fabric and the lining separately. Next thing I'm going to do now is to turn it neatly. So I place each of the lining that goes together and I'm going to pin the bottom. So I will be only turning the bottom and the top part will be open. So I will go ahead to pin it just like you see me doing, and I'll be stitching with my ½ inch allowance. And then after stitching, I will make small notches around it, then turn it to the neat side and iron it well to make it relax. So this is the corset flap already ironed neatly. So I went ahead to just pin the top part, which is open, and this is what it looks like. I'll keep it aside and let's work on the bodice. For the bodice part, I have gone ahead to iron the seams open for my lining and my main fabric. So now I want to go ahead to fix my boning for the corset, but before doing that, I want to first of all cut out my styling for the hem of the corset. If you want it to have a curved bottom, just go ahead to do that now before fixing your boning. So on the side, I came up by 1 inch and I decided to draw kind of like an S shape. I don't know what kind of shape this is, but this is what I did for the hem of the corset. So I first of all cut it on my lining to see how it looks before I place on my main fabric to trace out the same thing. So note that I came up by 1 inch on the side. I will also be going up by 1 inch on the side for my back pattern as well. So guys, after trimming the styling I want for the M, next thing I want to do now is to mark an extra line to fix my boning on. So you can go ahead to draw as many boning channel as you want. So I've already gone ahead to start fixing my sewable boning to the boning channel lines. For the part that doesn't have seam allowance, I went ahead to top stitch my boning on both sides. Then for the part that has seam allowance, I sewed the boning on each of the seam allowance, the 1/2 inch seam allowance on the side. So this is called the invisible boning channel. So first thing you're going to do is measure your boning on your boning channel. I took out 1/2 an inch from the top and from the hem of my corset. Then I used a lighter to burn the rough edges of the boning to give it a smooth edge. For an invisible boning finish, I placed the sewable boning right on the seam line, then stitch only on the seam allowance, moving the bodice aside so the stitch doesn't show on the front. Then after sewing on one side, you turn to the other side and repeat the same process on the other side. So this way the boning is neatly secured without any visible stitching on the front. But if you want a simpler method, you can just stitch along both sides of your boning channel directly on your fabric. So I will go ahead to fix my boning off camera. Make sure to cut your boning 1/2 an inch shorter from the top and the bottom, so this way it won't affect when you're attaching the cup to the corset or turning the hem of your corset later on. So I've already fixed my boning and ironed the body so it can lay flat. That's why it's looking straight like this. So I also cut out plastic boning to give the corset more structure and enable it snatch very well. The plastic boning is a bit shorter than the other boning, so it won't disturb when joining the cup or turning the hem of the corset. And don't forget to use a lighter to smoothen the edges of the boning, just like you see me doing. I'm inserting the plastic boning with the curved part facing up so that when I turn it to the front, it lays nicely. Then I will iron it flat over the boning. So just in case my explanation isn't clear enough, just watch closely and follow what I'm doing so you can understand better. So I'm done fixing my boning for the front. I will iron it to make it lay flat. And now for the back, I trimmed 1 inch from the side part and I curved the hem a bit. This is the same thing I did on the front, just so that everything can match up on the side. I did this for both the main fabric and the lining, just like you can see. So since we already have a slanted hem now, before taking out my pattern, I already made sure to notch the top parts before separating my pattern from my main fabric and my lining. Then I open up the main fabric like this and I'm going to draw my boning channel lines. From the center of the back, I came in by 0.5 inch and I will go ahead to connect all the points together to form a straight line. So like I said, you can do as many boning channel as you want, so this is going to be one of them. For the second one I want to do, I divided what I have from that marked line to the side part of my corset on the back and I got the midpoints. Then I ruled a straight line along the midpoints. So for this pattern, I'm just going to have just 2 boning channel. So I measured the same thing on the second part of my back, and these are the lines I'm going to be sewing my boning on. After marking my boning lines, I am now measuring and cutting the boning. I'm taking off 1/2 an inch from the top and the bottom so it doesn't interfere with the yoke and hem later on. And don't forget to use your lighter to finish up the edges of the boning. So for this center back line, I'm going to start stitching my boning after the marked line so that it will give me space to turn with my lining. Then for the second one, you can choose to sew directly on the marked line. So guys, I've gone ahead to fix my boning and I already ironed it to lay flat. Next thing I'm doing now is to fix my plastic boning, and I already explained why I am fixing my plastic boning, which is to give my corset more structure and enable it to snatch very well. And also the length of the plastic boning is a bit shorter than the actual length of my regilene boning. And then the way I fixed it curved facing up so that when I turn it to the front side, I will iron it to make it relax. So now moving on to the cup area, I have already gone ahead to cut my brow foam to match the shape of the fabric, but I came down by 1/2 inch on the top part. So I did that to avoid bulk when turning the lining on the chest area later on. And I'll go ahead to top stitch the bottom of the brow foam to the main fabric just to hold it in place. So now let's fix the zipper for the corset cup area. I will be starting with one side first. So first I came down by 1 inch from the chest line and I notched that point on both sides. This will be my stopping points. Next thing I did was to place my zipper right sides facing the main fabric, which is front side facing front side. The width of the zipper tape is 0.5 inch, so I'll be aligning it with the corset seam allowance. I'll go ahead and pin the zipper along the bust curve to keep it in place. Then after doing that, I will stitch close to the zipper teeth, stopping exactly on the notched 1 inch point on top. So after sewing, I open up the zipper to check that the stitch did not catch the teeth. Now I'll repeat the same process on the other side. Pin the zipper to the second side on the cup, make sure that it is equal on the bottom. Then you're going to stitch from the bottom to the top and stop on that notched 1 inch point. So you can choose to open up your zipper before you stitch so it will be easy for you, or you can zip it close and stitch. But ensure that your stitch did not get to the teeth of the zipper so you will not have issues later on. So this is what the zipper part looks like. You can see it's already taking shape of the corset. So to finish up the top, I'm going to take my zipper head down just like this. So I'll place the two sides together like this and move the zipper away. Then I'm going to stitch that remaining part with 0.5 inch. I'll be stitching from the top to meet the seam line of the zipper. Then after doing that, I will cut out the excess of my zipper. So guys, we're gonna head to fix one part and this is what it looks like. And I'll just go ahead to explain the other parts quickly. So in case you did not get it at first, you'll be able to get it the second time. So you're going to get your two cup pieces like this and then give a little space for your zipper on the bottom. Then the edges of the zipper is 0.5 inch already. So all you need to do is just pin your zipper close to the seam line of your cup and then let it stop on the notched points, the 1 inch notched point on top. So after pinning it like this, I'll take it to my sewing machine and stitch close to the teeth. Then after stitching, I zipped it down to check that my stitch did not get to the teeth of the zipper. Then I place the other side of the zipper to the other side of the cup. For this second part, I will go ahead to open it up so it will be easy for me to sew. And I will also pin the zipper close to the edge of my cup part, and then I will be stopping it on that notched 1 inch point. So I'll take it to my sewing machine and stitch close to the teeth. So I've gone ahead to stitch the both side of the zipper to the cup. The next thing is to finish up the top part. So you're going to move your zipper away, and then for the top part, I'm still going to be sewing 0.5 inch. So I'll start sewing the 0.5 inch from the top and then sew it to the seam line of the zipper. So guys, after fixing the zipper, I went ahead to iron the seams of the bra cup. You're going to place your bra cup on your bust arm like this and iron the seam for the zipper open like this. After ironing on the inside, I will turn it over to the front and also give it a good press. So because I don't have a steam iron, that's the reason why I'm using water to give it more steam, and the steam is going to make it relax and give the shape of the corset cup. So when ironing the front part of the zipper, you can see that I used a fabric to cover it up because many of the times the iron gets to spoil the zipper, because when you're ironing your zipper, it might get burnt. So this is the reason why I covered it to iron it. So at this point now, I'm done with the main cup. Next is to join the lining. So I open up my lining pieces like this and I arrange them accordingly. So I pin each of the cup piece together and I marked 1 inch on the bottom and 1 inch on top. So I just went ahead to pin the two pieces together to make sure that they are both equal. And I will be stitching the marked 1 inch on top and also the 1 inch on the bottom. And then the remaining space left on the cup lining I'll be using to turn my zipper allowance neatly. So guys, I'll go ahead to explain again. I placed the two lining pieces together like this, and I went ahead to pin it just as if I want to sew together. Then after pinning like this, I came up by 1 inch on the bottom, and I also marked 1 inch on the top part. So I'm going to be stitching those two marked points. I'll be stitching with 1/2 inch seam allowance. Then the open part will be used to turn my zipper. So guys, after joining, I went ahead to iron the seams open, and the open part I also folded in 1/2 inch, just like you can see. So the next thing I want to do now is to join my corset cup to the open space. So I went ahead to pin my cup to the cup opening on the bodice. I started from one end and I pinned it all the way to the other side, making sure that everything aligned very well. Then I did the same thing on the other side. After that, I stitched around the curve with 1/2 inch seam allowance. I'm also going to repeat the same process for my lining too. So having done that, this is what it looks like. The next thing I want to do is to fix the corset flap over the zipper area to cover it up. But at this point, I noticed that the corset flap I did was now too small for the space. So after fixing the zipper, the corset cup was now too wide. So I needed to cut another one. So I've gone ahead to cut another one using my pattern paper, and I made the sewing allowance to be bigger than the one I used before. So I'm still going to be doing the same sewing process I started with when I was stitching the corset flap before. And I already ironed my interfacing to my lining part. So I opened them like this and I joined the cup pieces together. And after doing that, I'll also be joining my lining cup pieces together as well. And I will turn the bottom around. So right here, I've gone ahead to turn the bottom of the corset flap like this, and I have made notches around it. So I'm just checking it to confirm that it is wide enough to cover the corset cup on the main bodice. So like I said before, I will make small notches around it and I will be turning it from the top part. So after turning it like this, I will take it to iron it neatly to make it relax. So guys, the next thing I want to do is to fix the corset flap on top of the main corset cup. So you're going to align the seams, the seam on the chest line, and then just pin it around the corset cup like you see me doing. So the reason for pinning it is to remove any excess that might be in the cup area. So just go ahead to pin and make sure that it is well relaxed when you pin it. And then any excess that there is on the top, you're going to trim it out. So guys, next thing I want to do now is to shape the sides of my corset. So I have my back pattern here and I'm going to place it front side facing front side. First of all, I am marking my sewing allowance out. For the front part, I used 1 inch for the sewing allowance, or you can just go ahead to take your body measurements on your corset. While for the back part, I am making use of 1/2 inch for my sewing allowance because I mistakenly trimmed out the 1/2 inch sewing allowance I cut for the center back, which I am not supposed to trim out. But because of the fact that I trimmed it out, I had to reduce my sewing allowance on the side. So instead of using 1 inch, I'm going ahead to use 0.5 inch. After marking the sewing allowance on the sides, I placed the front and back pieces right sides together and I joined them. I did the same for the lining, marking and sewing it exactly like I did for the main fabric. Then after doing that, I trimmed the sewing allowance down to 1/2 inch and ironed the seams open neatly. So after ironing the seams open, just like you can see, I'll be fixing my regilene boning on the side part. So you can do the invisible boning technique, or you can just go ahead to top stitch on both sides. So for the side boning, I cut the boning 1/2 inch shorter at the top and the bottom. Then I went ahead to use my lighter to burn the rough edges of the boning. So I'll take it to my sewing machine and top stitch on both sides of the boning and I will iron it flat to make it relax. After doing that, I'll repeat the same process I did for the other boning channel. I will insert my plastic bone to it after ironing it. So right now we're going to be fixing the yoke. I went ahead to join the front and the back shoulder together. I just taped it like this so it will be easy for me to fix. Then I notched the midpoint of the shoulder, and then after doing that I will separate my pattern from my fabric. So for the yoke part, I'm making use of a chantilly net and I doubled it, so one is going to serve as my lining. So I went ahead to mark the wrong sides of the net like this, and I'm going to open it up just like you see me doing and place the front side facing front side. I will be stitching around the neckline and also the opening for the back. And the back neckline is going to have a button loop. So I already cut out this small piece of fabric that I'm going to use for the button loop. It is 2 inches long. I have folded it already, and I'm just going to insert it inside of that small space on the back, which is going to serve as my button loop. On the other side, I'll be fixing my button to it. So guys, after I finished sewing the yoke, I went ahead to iron it to make it relax. Then I top stitch on the other side so it can be one piece. Then after doing that, I marked the wrong sides of the yoke, and I'm going to be fixing on my main fabric now. So I'm measuring from the sweetheart neckline to the side to check how much allowance I have left for joining the yoke. So after checking, I have about half an inch, and I'll be using that to join the armhole area of the net. Now I will place the front and back yoke pieces together and stitch the wrong sides using half-inch seam allowance. So having done that, I will start stitching my yoke, and I'll be starting with the front part first. I place the middle point on my sweetheart neckline, and I will start pinning from that point till I get to the other end, and I will do the same thing for the other side. After doing that, I'll also align the back part of my yoke to the back of my corset. So I have a bit of excess on the back part after shaping the corset, and I went ahead to trim it first before I fix my yoke on both sides. I'll also be doing the same thing for my lining. So after pinning the yoke to the corset, I went ahead to mark the sweetheart neckline on the center to guide my stitching. I will now stitch on it with half-inch seam allowance, and once that's done, I'll place my lining right sides together with the main fabric, and then I will pin it along the neckline and the yoke. Then after sewing, I will top stitch it and iron it flat for a neat finish. So guys, after fixing the yoke and turning the neckline neatly, I noticed the shoulder area was too wide. I originally used 7 inches from shoulder to chest line, but after sewing it felt too long, so I had to rejoin the shoulders on the yoke to make it sit better and fit my body properly. So now we are going to turn the bottom part of the corset, which is the hem. I turned my lining to the wrong sides, just like you see me doing, and I already left an opening of about 8 inches at the front of the lining, at the center part of the lining. So this opening is going to help me when I want to turn the corset inside out. And the reason for doing this is because I'm going to be closing everywhere shut to give it a neat finishing. So ensure that you top stitch the both ends of your opening so it doesn't lose. And then after doing that, I pin the center back together like this, and I'm also going to pin the hem. And after doing that, I'll take it to my sewing machine and stitch with half-inch seam allowance. So guys, this is what it looks like after stitching. I went ahead to notch all around the seams so it is well relaxed. So now I will turn the corset inside out through the opening at the center front of the lining. It might take a little time or a bit stressful, but don't worry, it's not impossible. So after turning, I use a sharp object like my scissors to carefully push out all the corners so they come out sharp and neat. And then I'll iron everything properly so it lays flat. So having done that, this is what it looks like. Next thing I'm going to do now is to top stitch on the boning at the center back. So this is going to help the lining and the main fabric hold together, especially at the area where I'll be fixing my eyelet too. So that part is totally optional. And then the opening I have on the center front for the lining, I will be joining them together and top stitch it to cover it up. Now to finish up the zipper area on the corset, first I open up the corset flap on the front on one side, and I already ironed the folded seam of the lining, so I pinned that fold directly to the zipper, and I'll be using needle and thread to stitch that part by hand. After that, I move to the second side. I open the corset flap again and I push the corset cup into the inside neatly. Then I'm going to fold the seam of the lining, which I also ironed earlier, and then pin it to the zipper edge. Okay, so be careful to pin it in a way that you will still be able to pull your zipper down. Then after I pin it on one side, I'll repeat the same process on the other side. Then after you're done pinning them together, you're just going to stitch just small back stitches to hold it in place and give it a neat, smooth finish. You can use a straight needle, but I found that using a curved needle made it much easier to sew around that area. So this is the final step to give your corset cup a clean finish and hide all the raw edges inside. Once you zip it open, the inside looks very neat and professionally finished. So to finish up with the corset, you can also fix a press button on the corset flap to hold it neatly to the cup. So just place the both pieces together and mark the spot where you want to fix your press button to. I fixed mine just below the zipper on the side of the cup. After that, give your cup a proper press, iron everywhere to be well relaxed. Since we tucked the zipper area inside, ironing will make the cup relax very well and bring out the nice curve shape. So that brings us to the end of this tutorial. I hope you found it helpful. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. It's one of the easiest ways to support your favorite creators for free. If you have any questions or something wasn't clear, feel free to drop a comment below. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one.